Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 339 for the 19th of April 2015. Richard Saunders here with you in Sydney, Australia, thinking about Sweden because, as you would have heard a couple of weeks ago on the Skeptic Zone, the Swedish skeptics were going to have a meeting, and together they and I produced a Swedish version of the DVD, The Vaccination Chronicles. Well, they posted up a picture of their conference, and everybody's holding up a copy of the Swedish Vaccination Chronicles documentary. That's quite a nice feeling. Thank you, Swedish skeptics. Let's hope that DVD makes it to the right people and does some good. Find out more by visiting www.vof.se. But coming up on this week's show, it's the Raw Skeptic Report with Heidi Robertson. And wow, Heidi and her friends at the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters, have they had a week? They have been interviewed by every conceivable reporter in the country, I think. Wow, all about this government initiative to crack down on conscientious objectors to vaccination. Now, the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supported Group is centred in Mullumbimby, which has the lowest rate of vaccination in the country. A disgraceful thing. So we're going to be chatting to Heidi coming up at the top of the show, all about her big week, her and her friends, the media she's done, and more about the situation in Mullumbimby. Why are there so many people who have dropped out of mainstream society? Well, that's their right, I suppose, but they seem to have dropped their common sense as well. We'll find out with the Raw Skeptic Report. After that, it's a week in science from the Royal Institution of Australia, our good friends in Adelaide, www.riaus.org.au. And after that, some news about an upcoming interview show, talk show, StarTalk with deGrasse Tyson, which is premiering in Australia here on the National Geographic Channel. So I'll have a little chat about that. Thanks to our friends at the National Geographic Channel for sending me a couple of preview episodes. Enjoying that immensely. And then to round off the show, our special guest Ross Balch from the Brisbane Skeptic Society, and the Skeptically Challenged podcast will be reading out an open letter to the Brisbane City Council about a banner strung across a busy Brisbane street spruiking World Homeopathy Awareness Week. Yes, folks, we all should be aware of homeopathy and just how ridiculous it is. Now, before we get stuck into the show, I'm very pleased to say that I will be attending the amazing meeting, TAM, coming up again, in Las Vegas in a couple of months' time. Looking forward to catching up with lots of friends, lots of skeptics, seeing Randy again. Always a busy time, but always a wonderful convention with lots going on, lots to learn, lots to do, lots to see. More news about the amazing meeting and hopefully a chat with Randy himself in the coming weeks. But now it's time for me to run downstairs, open up the larder, the pantry, the cupboard, the oven, the fridge, the stove, the range, look into the frying pans. I wonder if I can find some nice olive bread. Have that with a little bit of maybe smashed avocado. Yeah, olive oil on top of that, maybe. Toasted or not, we'll see. Yum. Well, I'm doing that. I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
It's the Raw Skeptic Report with Heidi Robertson.
Yes, it's the Raw Skeptic Report. I'm not Heidi Robertson, however, but Heidi Robertson is on the line all the way from the beautiful Northern Rivers area of New South Wales here in Australia. Hello, Heidi.
Hello.
It's good to see you because for the benefit of our listeners, we are Skyping at the moment. And there you are sitting in your home with the lush greenery out the window I can see. It's a nice place to live, isn't it, the Mullumbimby area?
It's a gorgeous place to live. It's a gorgeous place. It's very beautiful. We're close to the coast. We've got rainforest. It's just lovely, yes.
It is, and I speak from experience because I lived there from 1975 till 1980-ish or something like that. Went to Mullumbimby Primary School.
You did?
I did,
yes.
Indeed, yes. And good memories there. So for me, it really strikes a chord, all this news that we're going to be discussing today and its relevance to Mullumbimby. Well, let's start at the very beginning because what a week it's been, Heidi. What a week it's been. Last week on the Skeptic Zone, I read the statement from the government about their moves on vaccination. So I guess all I can do is get you to take up the story from there, from your point of view, because you've been really getting out there.
Oh, it's just been crazy this week. Absolutely, completely. I can't even begin to describe it. But yeah, so the statement from both Liberal and Labor parties. So it was a bipartisan thing that happened about the no jab, no pay initiatives that they're going to bring in. So that broke on the last weekend. And on the Monday morning, I guess because all the journalists go back to work on the Monday morning, we were just absolutely inundated, our group, the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters, we were inundated with requests for media interviews, print, radio and TV.
You were indeed, because I've been sitting here at home getting alerts from you. Watch this TV show, watch that TV show, and turn on the TV, and there you are. It's been quite something.
It has, yep. It started quite early on Monday morning, actually. We got a request from ABC North Coast Radio for a representative from our group to comment on what we thought of the government's proposed initiatives. So I did that interview. That actually went for about 20 minutes. That's a
long
big
time.
One.
If you get interviewed on radio to put your point of view, and you're interviewed for 20 minutes, you're doing well.
Yes. I was really nervous. It was sort of first thing. I was still in my pajamas, Richard, and I was really nervous. I could hear my dry voice. I could hear myself shaking, but that was okay. I think that went well. And as a result of that radio interview, our group then got contacted by the local Channel 7 Prime and Channel 9 NBN news teams that also wanted to talk with us. So that very same day on the Monday, they both sent camera crews out, and I did two television interviews for two local TV stations. One of those was we filmed it in another one of our admin's houses, Alison's house. But the other crew, the NBN crew, the Channel 9 crew, they wanted to actually film the story in the main street of Mullumbimby.
Yeah.
And I have to say I was a little bit nervous about that because of all the high emotions going on at the moment around town surrounding these initiatives. There's a lot of anger.
Yes.
But anyway, we did that. We went to the main street of Mullumbimby. We stood outside this Mullumbimby sari shop, and they interviewed me, and there were lots of people sort of very interested and having a look and slowing down and trying to hear what was being said. And then right at the end of the interview, the camera stopped rolling, and a lady came up and she was absolutely incensed. I kind of wish the camera had kept rolling because she just went off her rocker.
Wow.
She said she was. She said she came from the area. She came from a facility that had all unimmunised children. They were all extremely I think she used the words wild, livid, and that they were going to mount a campaign against this, the likes of the CSG, the coal seam gas campaign.
Oh, yes.
Here. She looked at me and she said, well, I don't know what side you're on. I didn't answer that because she was extremely angry. I just said to the camera crew, I'll leave you with this, and I turned and walked away.
Well, it's certainly an issue that does bring out strong emotions. No doubt. And I must say that although you do your best, I do my best, the Zone and like-minded people, what I hope we don't do is let our desire for what we see as the right side of this issue get the better of us. And I think we see that a lot in the anti-vaccination movement, where they can get sometimes bordering on hysterical.
Yep. That's true. And to be fair, I've seen that as well from the pro-vaccination.
It can happen. We do our best. People are human. I agree. But I think I see it far more from the other side.
Yeah, I think so too. But, it's really important that we recognise that anything that's going to affect people's children is going to be emotive. There's no question about that. And no one's insinuating that anyone's out to do the wrong thing by their children. Everyone wants to do the right thing by their children. The problem with it is that the people that are not vaccinating their children because of philosophical beliefs are getting their information from the wrong sources. Yeah. And that's the concerning bit, because we've got so much misinformation in this area.
You really do. But what I'd like to do now, just for the benefit of our listeners, I'll play a little clip from you being interviewed on that very TV show.
Little baby Riley Hughes that just lost his life to pertussis whooping cough in Western Australia, and Dana McCaffrey, who lost her life also at 32 days, both came from regions that have very, very low vaccination rates. And it's our responsibility as a community, as a society, to protect the vulnerable.
Well done, Heidi, indeed. I know how, it's odd. It's odd to be interviewed on TV with a camera in your face and a reporter there. But you kept going, and indeed you ended up on the national ABC television program, the 7:30 Report.
Yes. That was amazing. The 7:30 Report, one of the journalists there, Peter McCutcheon, he's a senior journalist and a former foreign correspondent with the 7:30 Report. He gave us a call. I spent about half an hour on the phone with him to start with, and then he rang me back about an hour later and said, yes, they want to run with the story. Can they please send a camera crew down from Brisbane to us in Mullumbimby, which is about a 2-hour drive.
Yep.
So first thing Tuesday morning this week, that happened. And that was great. I think that came across well on the 7:30 Report.
Yes, it did. Yes, I think you came across very well, and in fact I was very pleased to see you on the 7:30 Report. But it doesn't end there. I think you and Alison Gaylard have been even been doing some more.
Yes, well, in between that, there's also been interviews with the local newspapers. There's Tweed Valley News, there's the Northern Star, and here's something funny. We even got a call from a journalist in Sydney who writes for a Danish newspaper. Now, I was on the phone with her for about an hour. Wow. And she works for one of the 2 or 3 major newspapers over there. So wow. That was great. She's going to send me a link to that, which we're going to get translated. So see how that comes out. Good
heavens. But right now, for the benefit of our listeners, I'll just play a little clip from you on the 7:30 Report.
We have a vaccination rate here in Mullumbimby that equals that of the developing country of South Sudan. It's under 50% of kids aged 5 are fully vaccinated.
Heidi Robertson feared she would lose her baby after contracting whooping cough late in her second pregnancy. The frightening experience motivated her to join with other concerned citizens to help save lives.
In this area, vaccination was like a taboo subject. It was like bringing up religion or politics at a dinner party. You just didn't do it.
The Northern Rivers vaccination supporters are not sure how many locals, particularly those who are still undecided about the benefits of vaccinations, will react to the government's crackdown.
We're taking a bit of a wait-and-see look approach to that because...
Why is that?
Well, the reason for that is that there hasn't been any research done into unique demographics like ours here in the Northern Rivers. We just simply don't know if it's going to work or if it's not going to work.
Again, well done, Heidi. And I was actually quite tickled to think that you've been interviewed by someone representing the Danish news, and it just reminded me that the little documentary, The Vaccination Chronicles, is subtitled in Danish on YouTube as well, so that's quite thrilling.
Well, I told her about that because one of her questions was, do you think people have become complacent because they're not seeing the diseases around these days? And I said, well, that's exactly right. I think that's a big factor in all of this. And I told her about the Vaccination Chronicles and told her the link where she could see it as well.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, it's an interesting point you raise about people's perception, I think. And you were just having a quick word to me before we started the interview about the area you live in, the Northern Rivers, the Mullumbimby area. And you were making the comment to me that a lot of people in that area don't have a medical doctor as their first port of call for their medical needs.
Yeah, well, I don't have any evidence for that as such. It's just from reading a lot of the online groups, local groups and forums, and a lot of them will say that they will not go to see a GP. They instead, for their primary healthcare provider, they'll see a homeopath, a herbalist, a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, and so on. So our concern as well is that the actual notification rates of these vaccine-preventable diseases might not actually accurately, truly reflect the incidence rates of them. Because if you're not going to a GP, you're not going to get diagnosed with, say, whooping cough or measles or whatever. So we don't actually know if the notification rates in our area, which are bad enough as it is, actually truly reflect what's happening here.
That's not good. That's quite scary to consider that possibility. But I can well believe that a lot of people in that area would be seeing non-evidence-based people for their primary healthcare because they think that's the right thing to do. What's the expression? They've been sold a pup. They've been taught, this is the right thing to do. And ultimately, of course, they're putting their health and the health of their children at great risk.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the whole nature knows best, and let's not interfere with nature. Just the other day, I was teaching a first aid course, and one of the mums there during the break said to me that she was concerned that a friend of hers child had a temperature of 40 degrees Celsius for 3 days. My friend said to her, have you gone to see the GP? And she said, no, we don't believe in GPs. We are keeping the child warm, rugging. This is a little baby, keeping the baby rugged up and warm, which is possibly the worst thing you can do for a child with a fever because they can't control their body temperature as well as we can. Wow. And the thing is they have such a mistrust of the medical profession that, there's an anti-establishment view in general here to the point where it's putting babies' lives at risk.
Well, it is, and not only their own babies, but as this sort of gets worse, it's the babies in the general population now are becoming at risk from, which must surely happen because things like whooping cough and measles and whatnot aren't being counted as they should.
Yep, and there's no herd immunity, obviously.
So what you're telling me that the vaccination rate in Mullumbimby is just below 50%, I think.
Yes, we've got in Mullumbimby, it's the worst rate in Australia. It's just under 50% of 5-year-olds that are fully vaccinated. That's a sad story. And the other statistic that's interesting is that, so out of the 51% that are not fully vaccinated, about 50% of that 51% have registered as conscientious objectors.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I'm trying to think now. It's been a long time since I've lived in the area, obviously, but it wasn't like that when I was growing up. I mean, it was certainly more mainstream, although it was always, well, since the late 60s, I suppose, that area of Australia has been the hippie capital.
Yeah, wasn't it the Aquarius Festival that kicked it all off?
Something like that. People can Google that. And actually, I encourage people, no matter where you're listening, have a look at the area. Go to Google Maps or your favourite program and just type in Mullumbimby. And you'll see it's a tiny little town. It's near the ocean. It's near Byron Bay, which is a beautiful spot. There's a little mountain, what they call a mountain, Mount Chincogan, which dominates Mullumbimby, and they used to have a run up there every year as part of the fiesta. So it's a wonderful place for anybody to grow up, and I enjoyed my time in that area. So it is sad to see that this sort of thing has taken hold.
It is. But focusing on a positive is that the last week with the media actually haven't given much airtime at all to the AVN.
Yeah. The what they used to be called the Australian Vaccination Network, and they were forced to change the name. They changed it to the Australian Vaccination Skeptics Network. Boo, boo, hiss, hiss, which we weren't very happy about. But there you go. But yes, they are. It's like watching, what is it, a train crash in slow motion. You know, they're grinding to a halt, and they're or a dying star where every now and then there's a bright bit of solar flare going off, but they're dying and they're becoming, which is delightful to see, irrelevant.
Yes, it was, and in fact the camera crews specifically said to us that they were not interested in speaking with Meryl Dorey of the AVN. A few of them had tried to get in touch with her unsuccessfully. The only media outlet that I heard that spoke with someone from the AVN was the Sydney radio station 2UE that had the former president, Greg Beattie, on for one of the interviews. But apart from that, as far as I'm aware, there is no one from the AVN that was interviewed except for Greg Beattie.
I think I saw a brief clip with the current president, whose name escapes me, and, well...
Tasha David.
That's right. I think she was on for about 20 seconds on something when I was channel surfing. I'm not sure about that.
Missed that one.
But generally speaking, no. Maybe after all this time, a lot of the media have simply learned that extremist rat bags and nuts like those people are only good for entertainment purposes. I don't know.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I think the other difference is that groups like Stop the AVN have had a massive impact on educating the media about false balance in this area, in this issue, because putting someone on like Meryl Dorey up against immunisation experts is absolutely false balance, and we don't want to give the audience the impression that both viewpoints are equally valid, and the media's getting that now. It's amazing. It's a great turnaround.
More or less, you know, they not all the time, of course. This is a very long process because they're so used to just an easy story is to get two people with different points of view and put them together. There we are. That's an easy story. They don't have to do any research.
That's right. But now that some of us have made a stand, like our group and Stop the AVN, have made a stand, the first question we ask when we are now contacted by the media is, are you going to interview anyone from the AVN? And if they say yes, then we simply say, I'm sorry, we won't be a part of that story. Yeah.
Well, this is the stance that our colleague Dr. Rachel Dunlop, Dr. Rachie, hello, Dr. Rachie, who's in America at the moment, took with the media some time ago, and said she would not appear on radio or television if there was an AVN person appearing.
Yes, I think it's the best approach to take. Yeah.
Now, and again, as a result of all this interest, your Facebook has gone off its face.
Oh, has it? Oh, our website and our Facebook page, the Northern Rivers ones, have been inundated with messages. Some of them are angry, but a lot of them are asking for more information, and we've been getting a lot of positive feedback. It's been great.
It's really good to see, and you showed me your stats earlier, and they've skyrocketed. It's fantastic.
Yes. Alison also did an interview yesterday. I didn't mention that before, with the Today Show. It's going to they told us that it would probably air this Sunday morning on the Weekend Today Show on Channel 9. And that'll be good, because not only Alison from our group, we've also got a local GP that was interviewed for that, who is going to talk about what it's like dealing with conscientious objectors coming into the practice and wanting their forms signed. And we also have one of our members who was very brave, because she used to be an anti-vaccination advocate, and she has since changed her mind.
Wow.
And she's been interviewed as well for that show.
Well, through the magic of the internet and the podcasts and the time differences and all sorts of craziness, we're actually going to play a clip from Alison on the Today Show right now, which she hasn't even done yet. Hang on. Here we go.
Local mum Alison Gaylard considered leaving the town when her 2 daughters contracted whooping cough, despite being immunised.
I was devastated. I was heartbroken. I really felt like I'd failed them and I'd let them down. I had done everything I possibly could to protect them, even though they were vaccinated.
The ordeal prompting her to set up the Northern Rivers Vaccination Support Group.
I realised that there was a huge number of people that didn't vaccinate, and I just felt I had to do something about it.
Dr. Sue Page says being vaccinated is like wearing a seatbelt.
You wear a seatbelt, you may never be involved in a car accident. But if you are involved in a car accident, if you are exposed to a vaccine-preventable disease, that vaccination saves your child's life. It saves your child's brain, its ability to run around without having a measles virus hole punched in their lungs so that they're permanently respiratory disabled. It's a no-brainer.
Despite this, opinion remains divided.
I don't trust the pharmaceutical companies. And I think that's the answer would be for a lot of people.
They vaccinated both of my brothers, but not me. We found that the less vaccinations we had in the family, the less the kids got sick.
Your kids were never seriously ill?
Never. Ever.
So you made the right decision, you think?
Made the right decision. I had a home birth and I did not vaccinate.
Yeah, she's had her first course. Yeah. And I don't have any worries, where otherwise you would be a little bit concerned out here.
Well, there we are. Well done, Alison. Well, Heidi, wow, what a time you've had. Now, what's that Facebook site for people who might want to visit you?
Oh, if they just search for Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters, they will see our open Facebook page there that they can like and follow us there. And the website is www.nrvs.info.
Fantastic. And as you've mentioned in your reports before, and I'm very pleased, I'd like to attend one of these one time. Your first aid courses, how are they going?
Oh, I'm flat out with those, actually. Yes, I teach first aid for people that need that qualification for work. It's going very well, thank you.
I'm very pleased to hear that, Heidi, and I bet you're a great teacher too.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you, Heidi, for chatting to me in your own segment, I might add. This is the Raw Skeptic Report, and what a report it's been. And all power to you. Folks, there we are. She's worth your support. The Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters are worth your support. Alison Gaylard and all her friends do a marvellous job.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Heidi. Bye now.
Bye.
Kraskó Gábor vagyok, a Skeptikus Társaság Egyesület és a Skeptikus Szervezetek Európai Tanácsának elnöke. Mint a Skeptic Zone podcast hallgatója, bizonyára te is fontosnak tartod az áltudományokkal kapcsolatos felvilágosítást, a kritikai gondolkodást és annak népszerűsítését. Ha szeretnél részt venni ilyen tevékenységben, vedd fel velünk a kapcsolatot a www.skeptikustársaság.hu vagy az info@skeptikus.hu címen. Továbbá ajánlom figyelmetbe Facebook oldalunkat is, amit a facebook.com/Skeptikus Társaság címen találsz, valamint várunk szeretettel rendezvényeinken. Hi, this is Gábor Raskó, President of the Hungarian Skeptic Society and Chairman of the European Council of Skeptical Organizations. As a listener of the Skeptic Zone, you probably agree that educating others about pseudoscience and critical thinking is an important task. If you are eager to take part in either of these activities, we would be happy to hear from you. Don't hesitate to contact us at www.skeptikus.hu or info@skeptikus.hu. We also recommend you visiting our Facebook page, Skeptikus Társaság, or simply come and join us at one of our events.
Welcome to A Week in Science from RiAus, bringing you the science you need to know. From movies to conspiracy theories, we're surrounded by gloom and doom stories. But is our world, or even our universe, really about to end? You might have heard that there are up to 14 stars on a collision course with our solar system. Sounds grim, but is it? Well, to begin with, some of the stars heading our way are over 250,000 years away. Some are even 2 million years away from coming near us. But even if they do reach our solar system, it doesn't necessarily mean we're all going to be fried in some cataclysmic firestorm. They won't come close enough for the radiation to affect us. Danger might come from comets being dislodged from the Oort cloud, a region of icy, rocky remnants in our outer solar system. As the star approaches, its gravitational force could send some comets from the Oort cloud towards Earth. Okay, so being crushed by a star isn't a concern for a while yet. But what about a rogue asteroid impact? NASA searches for and tracks asteroids and other objects in its Near-Earth Object program. As objects are discovered, their tracks are calculated to see if they pose a threat to Earth. At the moment, the NEO program doesn't report any major objects on a collision course with Earth, but that doesn't rule out any asteroids that haven't yet been spotted. One close approach will be in 2028 by 1997 XF11, which will approach approximately 1 million kilometres from Earth, or about 2.5 times farther than the Moon. The chance of this mile-wide asteroid impacting Earth is effectively zero. And now, let's fly into 4 fast facts about asteroids. NASA is planning to redirect an asteroid to orbit our moon so that they can study it more easily. Around 100 tonnes of space debris reaches the surface of the Earth every day. An asteroid 1 mile wide would likely flatten everything for a 300-kilometre radius, and European authorities have decided on the best advice for the public in the case of an asteroid explosion. Keep away from the windows and stay in the strongest area of the building. That's it for This Week in Science. For more information on the risks to Earth from space, go to the RiAus website, riaus.org.au. Follow us on Twitter at RiAus and like us on Facebook. I'm Tania Meyer and we'll catch you next week.
Hey, Heidi.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Hi, Heidi.
Oh, hi, Maynard.
Hi, Maynard.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Nice day in this park, yeah?
Yes, great weather.
Oh, look, a unicorn.
A unicorn? There are no such things as unicorns, silly.
Yes, there are.
No, there isn't.
Hey, ladies, what are you arguing about?
Joe thinks unicorns are real.
They so are.
Let's look this up in the Skeptic's Dictionary.
The what?
How can we do that in this park? There are no computers here.
You ladies probably don't know about the Skeptic's Dictionary app, available now for iPhone, iPad and iPod Touch in the App Store.
Yeah, we do. We've been listening to the Skeptic Zone for years, you know.
Yes, okay. The app lets you access all the great Skeptic's Dictionary articles when you're on the go. Here, let me look up unicorns.
Oh, cool. Heidi, prepare to be proven wrong.
It says here the unicorn is a creature from fables.
Aha!
Actually, I see now that someone just dumped their ice cream cone on that horse's head.
Thanks, Skeptic Dictionary iPhone app.
That's just some guy in his undies.
Now here's some news from our friends at the National Geographic Channel. National Geographic Channel launches chat show StarTalk hosted by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now, Neil deGrasse Tyson has been on the Skeptic Zone a couple of times. Most recently, show 279, the 23rd of February in 2014, where I interviewed Neil deGrasse Tyson together with Andrian about the Cosmos series, the new Cosmos series, well, the series that was broadcast last year. So, Neil deGrasse Tyson, StarTalk, and the blurb says National Geographic is set to premiere its first ever talk show, StarTalk, where show host and prominent astrophysicist Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson sits down with world-renowned cultural luminaries across science, entertainment and politics, like Christopher Nolan, George Takei and Richard Dawkins. Premiering on the National Geographic Channel on Mondays at 9:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time from the 27th of April. The hour-long weekly series infuses pop culture with science while bringing together comedians and celebrities to delve into a wide range of topics. And thank you, National Geographic. You sent me a couple of episodes to preview and I enjoyed those immensely. Let's play a little clip from the episode with Star Trek legend George Takei.
When you're going up for what could be a running part in the series, you have a whole group, a team of people interviewing you. Network people, advertising people, studio.
Right, because you're not a one-off character.
Right.
They're marrying you for this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the marriage
tribunal.
Yeah. And I was prepared for that. When I walked into Gene Roddenberry's office, first of all, he mispronounced my surname. He called me Takai, but I corrected that. I said, my name is pronounced Takei, but I don't object to Takai because that's a Japanese word that means expensive. And he said, oh, my goodness. You're definitely Takei. And I told him, Takei doesn't mean cheap either.
Gene Roddenberry, creator of Star Trek.
Creator of Star Trek, producer, writer, visionary.
All-around creative guy.
Creative guy, and with a vision of what we could be.
I think they sent his ashes to the moon or something?
No, not to the moon, to orbit.
To orbit, so yeah. he's made it into space.
He's still out there.
He's still out there.
Jimmy Doohan had his ashes sent out there, too.
Okay.
But I guess he wasn't quite in orbit because he fell back down to New Mexico.
Okay.
Gene Roddenberry really deserves and should be up there because Star Trek was more than just... And he felt the television, it certainly needs to entertain, but it also needs to inform and inspire.
Did you know this at the time? At the time, are you just doing television, or are you saying to yourself, this is some good going down here? This is, whoa. Because the show did get canceled.
Right. But I knew that it was
the Kardashians went longer than the original Star Trek.
Yeah, but on Star Trek we had the Kardashians.
That's right. I forgot about that.
We talked about books we had read, movies that we liked, current events, issues. We had a wonderful, engaging conversation. He described the show, and it was thrilling. That vision that he had, Starship Enterprise, a metaphor for Starship Earth, and the strength of the starship lay in its diversity, coming together and working in concert.
Nobody was thinking that back then.
Nobody was thinking. I mean, minorities weren't...
in anything.
No.
So that's StarTalk coming up on the National Geographic Channel. Lots of people coming up on that series. Something to look out for.
Podcast Science is an award-winning weekly science show in French hosted by a bunch of crazy enthusiasts. We are convinced that the greatest ideas in science are quite easy to grasp as long as they are presented with passion, using a vocabulary common to all curious minds, whatever their academic background, if any. You don't understand French yet? Well, it's never too late. All our stories have a written transcript on the website, and people from all around the world are using our content to learn Molière's language. Our topics range from 0 to infinity, from evolution to artificial life, from electromagnetism to the science of introverts. We just love mathematics, science, critical thinking. So do you? Want to join? You can subscribe to the podcast for free from our website, podcastscience.fm, that's in one word. You also find us on iTunes and SoundCloud. See you soon, hopefully. Hâte de vous accueillir. À bientôt sur Podcast Science.
Ever on the lookout for woo and superstition and silly things like that, our good friends in Brisbane, the Brisbane Skeptic Society, noticed a huge banner draped across busy Wickham Street in Fortitude Valley in Brisbane. Written on the banner in very large letters, World Homeopathy Awareness Week. www.homeopathy.org. Minimum dose, maximum benefit. With two logos on the banner, one being from homeopathy.oz.org, which is the Australian Homeopathic Association, and the other logo being that of Endeavour College. Now, this banner was sighted and photographed by the Brisbane Skeptics in early April and prompted them to write an open letter to the Brisbane City Council. Here to read the open letter is none other than Ross Balch from the Brisbane Skeptic Society.
Despite extensive research before the publishing of this letter, the Council has since informed us that a private company is responsible for banners erected across Wickham Street. We are continuing our research in order to discover which company is responsible for this, in order to let them know our concerns. Due to the fact that these kinds of use of public space would still require council planning permission, we are not retracting our original letter to the Brisbane City Council. It is our hope that they will review their policy on the guidelines set out to contractors on what type of content is allowable in a public space. April 10th to April 16th this year is Homeopathy Awareness Week. Unlike other awareness events, for instance breast cancer awareness, this one is purely commercial in nature and is not recognised by the UN or any other government body. Homeopathy is an alleged system of medicine first devised in the pre-science medical era by Samuel Hahnemann in 1796. The system is based on the principle that like cures like. For instance, caffeine promotes alertness and thus should be used to treat sleeping disorders. That the more dilute the substance is, the greater the medical effect. And that succussion, the process of vibrating the mixture between each dilution, traditionally on a Bible, will also make the mixture more powerful. A recent report by the National Health and Medical Research Council echoes similar reports from the UK government and the Cochrane Review in finding that there is no scientific evidence that homeopathy is effective for any condition. This is not surprising when you consider the chemistry behind it. A typical concentration for a homeopathic preparation is 30C. This means that the initial substance is diluted 1 part in 100, usually in water or alcohol 30 times in a row. To put this into perspective, at that dilution you would have to drink almost 4 times the amount of water that exists on the Earth just to guarantee that you consumed a single molecule of the active ingredient. By comparison, a typical paracetamol tablet contains 1 by 10 to the 15 molecules. This is 1 with 15 zeros after it. What is more troubling is that this year's Awareness Week is themed around treating infectious diseases. Unlike conditions like colds or headaches that typically resolve themselves after a day or two, infectious diseases are immediate, life-threatening conditions. The World Health Organization has specifically warned against the use of homeopathy to treat diseases like HIV, tuberculosis, malaria, and more. Infectious diseases aren't the only conditions, however, that homeopaths claim to be able to treat. In 2005, Penelope Dingle died after husband Peter Dingle treated her with homeopathy instead of conventional medicine. Gloria Thomas, who was only 9 months old, died in 2009 when her parents eschewed science-based medicine for homeopathy to treat her severe eczema. This left her immune system vulnerable, and unfortunately she succumbed to an eye infection. It is extremely concerning then that the Brisbane City Council saw fit to allow display of a banner this week, and indeed in previous years, promoting Homeopathy Awareness Week on the busy Wickham Street in Fortitude Valley. Brisbane Skeptic Society is extremely disappointed that the council would not carefully vet the types of organisations that it would allow such prominent promotions to. Only a quick perusal of the Homeopathy Queensland website results in several statements that are either not supported by scientific evidence or are mischaracterizations. Quote, "It is recognised by the World Health Organisation as a valid form of healthcare." End quote. This statement is clearly contradicted by the World Health Organisation, which specifically warns against homeopathy's use. Quote, "It may be used in the treatment of chronic illness, acute conditions and minor accidents requiring first aid." End quote. As stated above, several scientific reviews have found no evidence for this statement. While homeopathy by definition is inert in and of itself, many who choose to use homeopathy do so as an alternative to conventional scientific-based medicine. This unfortunately has in the past and will continue into the future to have potentially lethal outcomes. Brisbane Skeptic Society would ask that the Brisbane City Council think very carefully in the future about the types of messages that they allow to be displayed in public locations such as Wickham Street. Brisbane City Council first and foremost must have the good of the community at its heart, a function that is not served by allowing dangerous misinformation to be displayed in a public place. Regards, Ross Balch, President, Brisbane Skeptic Society. If you would like to get involved with our campaign, you can contact the Mayor's office. The address is Office of the Lord Mayor, GPO Box 2287, Brisbane, Queensland 4001. You can phone 073403 4400, or you can email lordmayor@brisbane.queensland.gov.au.
Thank you, Ross Balch from the Brisbane Skeptic Society. And also, Ross, you can hear Ross on the Skeptically Challenged podcast. Good work. I think open letters like this are a good idea, and who knows, maybe we won't see that silly banner hanging over Brisbane in 2016. The Skeptic Magazine, the journal from Australian skeptics. Subscribe online to the world's second oldest skeptical magazine. Visit www.skeptics.com.au and click the publications link. You can also find there over 30 years of back issues free to download. The Skeptic, the magazine from Australian skeptics. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. And next week I hope we'll have a report from our dear friend and reporter Joe Alabaster, who's been a little bit under the weather lately. Get better soon, Joe, get better soon. We'll see if we can get something out of Maynard too. He's been a little bit under the weather as well. What's going on? And soon we'll be able to tell you some more news about our new reporter. That's very exciting. And before long I'll give you some details on a personal level, very exciting. I'm going to have an exhibition of some of my photography here in Sydney around the middle of May, but I'll be letting you know about that before long. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders and Fred the Cat, signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter @SkepticZone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.